somebody's background.
Is it well? I think so.
Welcome to First String Podcast. On today's episode of First String Podcast, we have Donna Hopkins and we have our guy Deacon joining us today. But before we get into that, we have to talk about someone that we lost, someone that we all know. That would be the one and only Pete Methers, who has been on First String Podcast numerous of times, never said no. You guys may know him from the Team 980, 106.7 The Fan, calling Navy games, a legendary broadcaster in the DMV, a homegrown DMV person who never, ever said no. He gave us his time, and we do appreciate him for being a part of First String Podcast and giving us insights into his world of sports, whether it have been football, college, draft, baseball. If it was a sport, Pete knew it. So, Pete, you will be missed by all of us. Thank you for giving us your time.
It's wartime, baby. This what you signed up for. This what we worked hard for. You for. Y'all the first string. Y'all gotta go set the tone now. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Cause it's time for the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast show. Imagine talking sports, having fun with the fans. At a starting lineup, First String is what you have. An entertaining stream with the Pro Bowl cast. When the viewers chime in, they gon' answer what you ask. Representing for the Queens, yeah, we got Lady A. A super knowledgeable woman who can break down any play. Said from the South, so he rep GA. The Falcons, the Bulldogs, the whole Peach State. Drunk Uncle Al, only way you can describe him. Every time he crack the mic, you know he gon' be wildin'. Last but not least, it's my man Toothpick. Commanders is a squad and he the captain of the ship. So if you feel the vibe, go ahead and tune in. Like, subscribe, recommend to a friend. Now for real, like, subscribe, and recommend this to a friend. Hey, let's go. Cause it's time for the First String Podcast show.
Welcome back to First String Podcast. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to First String Podcast. Hit the bell to enable alert for new content just like this. The most important part is that you tell a friend to tell a friend about First String Podcast. Hey, Lady A, how are you?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
She's doing swell. Did you have a great day with our guy Taz? Put him up. You know how Taz.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
exhausted.
He told you squabble up. He said squabble up, Auntie. Squabble up.
I had training camp for a not the
Okay. Al, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
Good evening, everyone. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I apologize for how I may sound a little bit. I'm a little exhausted too, but mine is more with the people of the area, not so much the exuberance, I guess, about the football team. I'm happy for the city. I'm happy for the state as well, because Maryland, DMV, that whole area. Glad they've gotten to see what football in January looks like and how it can be an exciting thing to do. And so, I'm proud of the area. Don't really care too much for the team. I still got my Buffalo colors on today. So, it's no secret we're wearing my loyalties a lot now. So, I'm just looking forward to a good show, man. I'm feeling a little better. Got a little bit cough medicine in me, and I'm gonna get me a hot beverage in a minute, so I'll be all right. But hey, how you doing? How you doing, Shady? Lady A.
Lady A, I know. I know
Slim
you was ready.
Shady.
Listen, first off, if this is your first time watching First Stream Podcast, there's a couple things you have to understand, okay? One is that we love sports, okay?
Yes,
Football, basketball, baseball, it doesn't matter. We love sports. However, we all root for different teams. Al, we're just going to say that he's a free agent when it comes to
I'm a Cowboys
football.
fan who have ties to other teams. I was traded mid-season, and then I was signed off waivers in the postseason. It's a simple thing. It makes it complicated. Right. I make it simple.
Right. Lady A and I, left hand up, we do support the Washington Commanders. Said, as you heard in the intro, loves everything Georgia, except for Said, I believe this week is a Philly Bulldogs fan.
Yeah.
Why did we say Philly Bulldogs? Why would we say Philly Bulldogs? Lady A, why would we say Philly Bulldogs? Because they're the Philadelphia Eagles. Why would we say Philly Bulldogs?
Philly went and stole everybody from Georgia Bulldogs. Right. Remember, I even said, I said on air, I said they got the cheat code.
We had a logo. They had their new logo, but it's different. Okay, listen, let's get back on topic a little bit here real fast. We will have Donna Hopkins on as soon as she finishes her other show. So for now, let's bring our guy Deacon in. Deacon from the OGs of the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, if y'all know who Deacon is, y'all know that Deacon would come on First String Podcast when we're doing our preseason picks. And Deacon, what would you say was going to be your preseason pick a couple of years ago for the Washington Commanders?
Super Bowl, baby.
Super Bowl.
He had to work on his background.
Too. I was just a little early, but I said it out loud.
He did. And he said it with his chest. He said Super Bowl.
Hey, no.
Who knew that he was seeing the future? Who knew it?
All right.
Listen,
what up, though?
He was watching the Super Bowl.
Huh?
My mic's bad. It's coming a little, coming through a little muted. You say
he said Washington. That's what he said.
Watching the Super Bowl.
Washington.
Oh, Washington.
Then he was going to the Super Bowl.
Man, he must know.
You have to excuse him, Deacon.
92 film.
Yeah, you Al. He didn't say who's going to be watching the Super Bowl, like the Dallas Cowboy fan that travels to see what the rest of the Cowboys do. They don't travel; they just watch it from Cancun.
Gotcha.
You know.
All right.
Right.
We got a lot of time on their hands right now.
Oh man, like sometimes you got to take a vacation early. Sometimes, man.
Let's talk about
always be in it, man. Like we usually are. I mean, I'm just saying. We're gonna get to Jay Black too, but go ahead, pick, please. I got my own adjust that too.
Hold on a second. Last I checked, y'all did not go to the NFC Championship. So you said like you usually are. Explain.
I said playing in January, postseason play. That's what I was
saying. But you making it seem like this is something.
He just mean the first round. That's all he means.
That's it.
I mean, first round, divisional round, whatever. I mean, like I said, listen. My goal every year is for my team to play the last Sunday of the year. If that doesn't happen, and can we stop this loser talk comparison, please?
Sure. Listen,
this loser talk comparison. Who measures? If you're going to be a premier franchise, which I thought the Washington football team was, you don't measure NFC. I've never heard anyone say how many NFC Championship games appearances that team has.
Well, we never. Wait.
Hey.
When did that start becoming a stat?
Put a pin in it real fast, okay? Deacon, I'm gonna stick you backstage real fast. We have Miss Donna Hopkins joining us right now to recap Washington Commanders Detroit game with us. Hello, Miss Hopkins. Yes. How are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm sorry I'm tardy, but
it's all right.
Nope.
This is like playoff championship weekend.
Yep.
Everybody is saying, can you come on? And I had to do radio on TV, but I'm happy to be on with you all again.
We're happy to have you. Not for the reason, but we are happy to have you.
No, don't do that. Listen, first off, we have to say
a little saltiness in the room.
You do.
Absolutely.
Ion, sodium, whatever you all yes, everywhere.
You do feel it, but
Al is who he is. Welcome. Is what I say to all y'all.
Now let's be real quick. at the beginning of the season, you guys saw the team coming together. You saw the team gelling. Your honest assessment of this is, when did you know, or when did you feel that this team was special? What week, what day, what happened, and you saw that this team has a special destiny about it?
I think that Cincinnati game, when Washington came out of that Cincinnati game and the way they played to have to, come out with that win and everything. Cliff Kingsbury was getting, criticized, saying that he was vanilla, coach as far as college play calling and all those things, criticism. And I think that he came out and threw the book at them that game. I mean, he let them have it. I mean, that's when I thought I saw the team really rise up overall as a whole unit. So I think for me, that was one turning point, for this team. And then after they lost those 3 games, and then they came back and never missed a beat after that. It's almost like they were building momentum after that game, after those 3 losses. So it's that Cincinnati game, and after the 3 losses, that Bobby Wetner went in there and talked to the team. And from that point, having a leader like him and the Frankie Louvu's and Kahert and some of those veteran guys that has helped settle a young team like the Commanders have this year. And then Jayden Daniels just not playing like a rookie is what has probably propelled this team forward, is that he believes that in any situation he can go in and he doesn't get rattled. He's got a calmness about him.
Right.
And so I think that's when I saw this team turn the pages as far as that Cincinnati game, because the way they played that game and came away with that win, and then after the 3 losses, and they started putting some pieces back together after Bobby Wagner basically settled the team down again, that's where I saw the turn in this team. And then I've seen them turn even a bigger page after that Dallas game into the playoffs, because they had to win that Dallas game. And although they had won up until that point, they still were going to be in 7th place, but they ended up winning that Dallas game. And then from there, to me, they just gotten better in the playoffs against a Tampa Bay team that was tops and on the road. And then last week, the way they played, I mean, they put their foot on the gas pedal and never let up. So those are some moments that I've seen this team, because being up there in Detroit, that noise was so crazy. I couldn't even think or hear myself in the press box. And for the people to be on the field and the offensive line didn't jump, make a lot of mistakes or anything like that because of that noise, that was pretty impressive. And finally, the defense stood up tall, against those weapons. And everybody was talking about the weapons of the Detroit Lions. And I don't want to hear people talk about their injuries on the defensive side of the ball, because the defense didn't throw 5 or turn over the ball 5 times. It was the offense. And Jared Goff, they rattled him because they had pressure up front from John Allen and that group that did not put the secondary on the Allen. So it's by far the defensive front's best game of this year. And they stepped up when they had to step up big. In this team, they just played complimentary ball up there in Detroit. And when you got to go on the road 2 weeks in a row, really 3, because against Dallas too, and you come away with 3 wins, whether you like the Commanders or not, whether you are a Dallas fan, an Eagles fan, a Giants fan, you have to give credit to a team that's playing well, whether you like them or not. You got to call it like it is. And this team is not fearful of anybody. I mean, they don't have the pressure on them, because nobody expected them to be here anyway. The championship game, oh, no way. Nobody could put this or write this in a book at the beginning of the season. If Washington was going to get, they won 4 games last year. They got a rookie quarterback this year leading the way. And when you look at those odds and whatever, you never would have put the Commanders here in the championship. A possibility of going to the Super Bowl. They've got a good chance, just like the Philadelphia Eagles. Ask the Detroit Lions. Ask Tampa Bay.
Lady A.
So we have Adam Peters, which amazing addition to the organization as a whole. What would you say for this season, especially looking at the play during the playoffs? Um, what would you say his best decision was?
Hey, you know what? Drafting Jayden Daniels. I mean, from day one. That's. I mean, you think about it. They had opportunities because this draft, the draft with Daniels and all of them, it was a quarterback draft. I mean,
Yep.
class. So it was like Caleb Williams was always talked about. Oh, he's top draft pick and whatever. I was always thinking Jayden Daniels. I was hoping that they got him because Caleb Williams is one of those guys that's out there, attention grabber and all that. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a good quarterback, but he did not have a strong rookie year. I mean, it was so many things happening up in Chicago, and they got Ben Johnson as their new head coach from the Lions. But when you look at Adam Peters and what he had to put together for this roster, first of all, getting a quarterback and getting that right is hard in the NFL. And I mean, he had multiple quarterbacks that they could pick from, but I'm sure they had their eyes on Jayden Daniels from the beginning because when you look at just, character, his play, and all of those things, tangibles, that this is the guy that they wanted, that they said they wanted. I'm so glad. Thank you, Chicago, for taking Caleb Williams. That's all I want to say. Thank you for taking Caleb Williams because you gave us the opportunity to get Jayden Daniels, who is your, quarterback of the future. So I think that Adam Peters did a good job with that. He also did a good job of bringing veterans here with that coaching staff, bringing Dan Quinn and seeing the value there because we could have had a Ben Johnson or some of those other guys, young-minded coordinators on both defense and offense, but they brought in a veteran coach as far as Dan Quinn that had been with Atlanta, Super Bowl right there, experience across the board that he fits this team. So I think Adam Peters and that player personnel have to be taken off for the coaching staff that they brought here, and then being able to get a Jayden Daniel, your quarterback, and then being able to get key pieces, whether they were 1-year contracts, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Jeremy Chin, all of these guys were kind of like connected to some of these coaches they brought along. And then he set himself up that if anybody would be snatched up, they have people that can move into offensive coordinator jobs or the defensive coordinator jobs. So I think that that's where Adam Peters was a gold mine in putting together the staff, the coaching staff, shoring up the offensive line a little bit more because I didn't think the offensive line would stand up as far as they have. I mean, I still think that they have to get some guys there next year, but I still think that the pieces that they put together were key pieces. So that's the reason why I say Adam Peters to me also has to, get a lot of credit this year for what he did in the beginning of putting all these pieces together for this team, because 1-year contract for a lot of these guys, even Fowler or, along with that on that defense, I think that's been some key moves for Adam Peters. So, I mean, he to me is just during the course of the season trying to fill in bodies where bodies go down. You have to get, continue to plug in pieces all season long. And I think that he's done a tremendous job because you haven't seen any drop off of anything. You've seen this team propel themselves even further at this stage of the second half of the season. I mean, even the Cowboys fans got to be able to say, hey,
Donna, let me say something. Let me say this. I have said this to several people. I am thoroughly impressed with this miraculous turnaround that you all showed. From 4-13 to 14-5 now, I think it is. I can't hate on that. I refuse to. I'm a football fan. I'm unbiased on this show. Not when I talk to you, Lydia. But anyway, my question to you is this. And I said this last week. I think we had Doc. This week was you were playing with house money. No one expected you all to win. No one expected you all to even win past the first round per the bettors. Not the fans, but the bettors. When you get to the NFC Championship game, the pressure changes a little bit. Mm-hmm. That house money feeling, it's different. Now you really got you can tell yourself you're supposed to be there because you won 2 games to get there. You're playing a familiar foe, so that has the comfort level goes in there. But you're playing a tough foe, and one that's playing well. How does the mentality you think for the team change? Because, like I said, they can say what they want, but now the pressure of you're in the spotlight, you're in the championship game, you're 1 game from the bowl, from the Super Bowl. That how will you think with coaching or with even preparation, will that change anything they'll do or the players' mentality coming up?
Well, let me go back and correct you a little bit. Philadelphia has not played well in their last 2 games. Yeah, in that last game, in the last 2 games they played in, they've struggled. They have not looked good or sharp on offense, and they haven't looked particularly great on defense either. Their kicker, they're struggling with their kicker, pretty much all season. We were just talking about that today, is that Philadelphia right now, when you go into the playoffs, you want to be playing your best ball, and the Commanders pretty much are playing their best ball at the end, where Philadelphia, you look at them, and like you said, it's totally different when you know the team. They know each other. I mean, this is a divisional matchup again, and each one of them split during the course of the week. I mean, during the course of the season, and everybody is saying, well, if Hurts wouldn't have got hurt or this wouldn't have happened, then the Commanders probably would have won. Well, we could say that about a lot of games all season long. So I'm not even going to throw that in there, because when people go down, just like when Sam Cosby went down last week, this team still moved forward, because guess what? They still had to play without one of their star offensive linemen. So along with looking at Philadelphia, when you look at these teams and you dissect them going into this game, it like you said, it's a big game. But as Coach Quinn said, that you can make the game, and the players say this, has been saying this to me since they got into the playoffs. You can't make any game bigger than the other, even though it is. You cannot think about that way, because you're going to stress yourself out, and you're going to put a lot more pressure on yourself, saying, oh man, this is the NFC Championship game. We know that, but you can't go into a game thinking that any game is bigger than the other. You got to go in and play your ball, no matter what game it is, because we're in the NCAA tournament right now. One and you're done. But the thing about Philadelphia that everybody has to look at is Jalen Hurts is, to me, a question mark right now, because when you have a quarterback that's hurt, he's been hurt for the last 3 weeks with that concussion situation. And so even though he played this past week, he's not 100% from there. One hit could take him out again. Plus now he's got a knee injury. He put a brace on that, because everybody knows that when you have a bruise, whether if it's no tear or anything like that, a bruise to me still a major injury for your mobility, because Jalen Hurts relies on, and that Philadelphia offense, of him being able to run at the pocket like a Jalen Daniels. So to me, they're limping a little bit into this championship game, but they've got Saquon Barkley, not taking any
great equalizer,
because this is a monster. See, he's going to get his. Saquon is going to get his, but the second time around, this Commanders team slowed him a little bit in the second half, that I think he had only 20-some yards in the second half, but he's going to get his. But if you can slow everybody else down, then this is going to be a good thing. So last week, when Washington had to go up against 2 great running backs, Montgomery and Gibbs, and they put their poison a little bit, but they went away from their running game because they got behind, of course. But they didn't run them effectively. But I thought that the defensive line played a little bit better in most key moments. He got some, Gibbs and Montgomery, they broke it off some, but for the most part, they didn't do damage all game long. So you go back to Philadelphia with Saquon Barkley, he's going to get some of his, but if they can slow down everybody else, and we got a Marshawn Lattimore that is healthy, not nursing that hamstring anymore, because they literally shut down Detroit's wide receivers last week, and Michael Sanders still is playing not like a rookie also. So when you look at the matchups, and Carter, Carter on the other side for the Eagles, that's going to be telltale with Trent Scott filling in for Cosme. So you want to watch that matchup right there. But if they can just give Jayden Daniels time enough, and him getting outside the pocket and running, and this is the thing that people don't realize: the first 2 times they played Philadelphia, the wide receivers beyond Terry wasn't making plays, but the wide receivers in the last 5 games have stepped up, all of them. You saw Diami Brown, the catches that he had in the last couple of weeks. He had a guy in his face, and he held on to that ball because he tracked the ball really well. Not just that game, but the week before. And Olamide Zaccheaus has also stepped up and played well. And you got the tight end. So the receiving core that you saw in the first 2 games are not the same receiving core that you have now. A.J. Brown, how is he going to step up this week also? So it's, you look at matchups and everything, it's going to be a good game. You don't want it to come down to the kicking game because I think it's question marks on both sides.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia's. But I think that if Washington, just like in the Detroit game, if the offense can keep Philadelphia's offense off the field, then they're going to be able to, they scored almost every play and whatever. And the turnover battles, if Washington again, or whomever, even Philadelphia, whoever can hold the ball and not make the mistakes. You think about the Buffalo game against Baltimore. Mistakes were made. That's how, everybody wants to point out that it was the tight end that lost that game, that 2-point conversion. Hey, wait a minute.
Lamar had 2 turnovers. Lamar had 2 turnovers.
Yeah, if you don't have those turnovers, then guess what? You probably don't lose the game and everything because Buffalo had an opportunity to score, and I think they did on some of those turnovers. So can't point out one play. It's the team between the Commanders and the Eagles that make the less mistakes. And you throw out the weather and all that, but I still think the pressure more so is on Philadelphia. They've been there. They're at home. Nobody expected the Commanders to be there. Eyes are open now about the Commanders because of what they've done. And a lot of people are scared of the Commanders, but the Commanders still have to go up and play solid ball. And I think that they constantly tell me, can't worry about nobody else. Can't even worry about the Eagles and what they do. Is what the Commander says, what we do is the key. And you notice the last 2 games that they won the playoffs. It's not about what the other teams did. It's about what Washington was able to do. Force turnovers, and put together complete games. And so it's more so that I think the pressure is on Philadelphia. So I think it's going to be a good game, but it could go either way. But, when I look at the hot team right now, it's the Commanders right now.
There we go. So this always comes down to a play here or there. The Washington Commanders call it high pressure moments. When you look at both of these coaching staffs, you have 2 Super Bowl coaches on the staff. But when you look deeper at this staff, that's where you start to see the difference. Ever since Dan Quinn and this coaching staff has come, they've talked about these high pressure moments. They talked about the first day of practice doing 2-minute drills, 2-minute situations and things of that nature. The last time Philadelphia was in the Super Bowl, both of those coordinators, offense and defensive coordinators, they're now on different jobs. Which team do you feel will have their coaches, their team better prepared? That's what I'm trying to get at. Which team will have their coaches, their team better prepared? Because you have 2 outstanding staffs here.
I think you have to just take the hat off and say that both teams should have at this stage of the game. If you don't have your team prepared, then you don't need to be in this championship game. So I don't think it's an edge either way. I think that both teams, knowing this is the NFC Championship game, will have their teams prepared, because you look at the staff on both teams. Philadelphia, like you said, been there before, not everybody. And a young team like Washington, most of them haven't even been there. Even 2-year player like Diami Brown and Terry and all those guys has been on this roster. They haven't been this far into the playoffs or even, know what it's about. But I think because they're just playing like every game is just a regular game and not looking at it as a playoff. But I think that when you look at Kingsbury, been there before. When you look at Dan Quinn, been there. When you look at their coaching staff, Anthony Lynn and some of those other Johnson and all those, they got guys that have been in moments like this. Philadelphia does too. So I think it'll just come down to who calls the better game on both defense and the offense from Philadelphia and Washington. So I think it's no edge there. It's just who can dial up the best the game and everything, because I think that at this stage of the game, if you are the coaches and you don't have your team prepared to go in here and play, then shame on you.
We have a question from our chat here. It says a question from Ms. Hopkins. Each matchup with the Eagles this year has come to the fourth quarter. Do you feel this game will be the same? And do you feel that we have the answer for Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, those games have come to the end as far as winning and everything. But this is just a different monster. It's the NFC East game still between two divisional. I would say rivalry, because this is your third time around, so you kind of like know each other a lot. Each team is different than when they played them just the second time around, because each has transitioned in different ways as far as their growth. I just think that Philadelphia is struggling right now as a team overall. Now, that doesn't mean that they can come and play their best ball like Washington did last week against the Detroit Lions. So, it's to me, I think it's just going to be a game. I don't know if it's going to come down to the last second, because I thought the Detroit's would be a shootout, and look at that, how that turned out.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, you just don't know how this is going to spin, because once that ball is snapped, and like I said, you're not going to slow or shut down Saquon Barkley. If you stack the box, with 8 men, then Jalen Hurts could beat you probably over top, because they do have good receivers. They
really
do have
good wide receivers.
So the thing about it is, you don't want to unless you're going to get to him. You don't want to totally stack that. But I think that you have to stay in your gaps. That's the key thing, is gap control as far as controlling Saquon Barkley, and staying true to your assignments. I think Dante Fowler told me last week going into this Detroit game and then Coach Quinn talked about this. The key thing when you're on defense, you're trying to stop a runner of that caliber, and they've been battle tested with a great running group the last 8 or so games. But if they said that if you stay in your gaps, and then Coach Witt talked about this, gap control, staying where you're supposed to be, staying in your assignments. So if you stay true to your assignments and don't deter outside of your assignments, then you can do a better job of containing him somewhat. You're not going to totally shut him down, but I just think that last week they stayed in their gaps and they stayed in their assignments, and that's the reason why they were able to slow those running backs down to a certain degree. They got out too. Key tackling is key things too. Yep. Because they did a good job last week for the most part of tackling well. So those 3 things to me is how you slow down a Saquon Barkley a little bit: gap control, staying in your assignment, and tackling well, something that they did last week quite well.
Sound football. So before we let you go, Al, you got one more question, and then I got a question.
I wanted you to speak to something. My new nickname for him is Jesus Daniels, because the belief this team and this area has in him is almost. Am I bad? Am I coming through bad? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, because Pixar was free. I know. I tell a couple of friends of mine that I just laugh because of the belief that he's instilled in this area in him, and more importantly, his teammates. And I kind of find it ironic, because having an owner being Magic Johnson, I liken it to the 79 season when Magic got drafted, when he led a Laker team as a rookie and led that team to actually a championship. But and I kind of see different parallels to that. I think what's going to really come down to this weekend is, how does he play? I know the defense has to step up. I know the players, but you all are being led by Jaden Daniels. And so I want you to speak to how important it is for him to get off to a good start, and because the momentum will be carried, and you're only going to go as far as he goes up.
Yeah, you hit it on, because really when you look at the play of this Commanders team for the last 8 games, second half of the season into the playoffs, Jayden Daniels has basically said, it's kind of crazy. A rookie saying,
Yeah,
put it on my shoulder
yeah,
and let me carry you, because he's got that confidence in himself. And the point that he doesn't get rattled with the pressure. Most of the time people crack under pressure. He excels under pressure. So I think that because being a young quarterback, that he's been battle tested already. And so this is nothing new to him. I mean, I asked him about, has he surprised himself as far as his play? And as he got comfortable in the second half with the playbook, and as players started stepping up, as they started getting comfortable with each other, then everybody rallies around him, because they believe that anytime he gets on the field, this team is going to win. Even if they're behind, they feel that if the ball is in his hands, they can win. So he's instilled a belief in this team because of his play and because of his character, and that because of his beliefs in himself and in this team. So it's the spilled over into other areas of this team, that everybody is starting to believe that this team can beat anybody if they put the pieces all together. And no matter how tough a situation may be, how hostile a situation may be, going into like the Lions Den and now up there in Philly, they just believe that it doesn't matter who's in front of them. As Michael Sanders still said to me last week, one more person out of their way to achieve some of their goals and everything. So what did they say? They're saying anybody, anywhere, anytime. And they
Anywhere, anytime.
yeah, they really embody that from day one, that has been the mindset of this team. So yeah, I think that Jayden Daniels and this team, not just Jayden Daniels, but this team has to get off to a quick start. But I think that, everybody has to get settled too, because, a game like the NFC Championship, you are a little hyped and a little nervous. But I
Extra
think
fuel, extra amped up.
yeah, and if you can, and I think Dan Quinn has done a tremendous job in settling them down, where you don't see that. When he told me last week that he saw a little bit of the nerves because they wanted to get out there, and he said, okay, let's everybody take a deep breath and breathe out. And he said from that moment. So I think that because you have leaders like that, that's been there, that knows what to look for. And I just think that this moment is not too big for Jayden, and that he's proven that week in and week out. And I think that's the key thing that you look at, is that if he could get off to a quick start and this team and even though if they don't, but you don't want to be playing catch up, even though Bobby Wagner said that they can do it, but you don't want to do it if you don't have to.
Right.
But I think that if you set a message or a tone from the beginning, then that sets everything moving forward, that you put more pressure on Philadelphia by getting off to that quick start. Yep. And putting points on the board, points, touchdowns. You can't win in championship games just with field goals. You got to punch it in.
Field goals.
But I just think, in answering your question, that yes, Jayden has to get off to, and this offense has to get off to a quick start. That means that being able to run the ball. B-Rob finally got back in the mix last week, had a pretty good game, their running game in general. So if they have that balanced attack right there, they're going to make themselves two-dimensional. So the team that keeps their nerves down is going to be the key thing. But right now, the Commanders, to me, feel like that the pressure is not on their shoulders, because people may say, oh, they're the team to watch out. But they're still looking at the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles have been to the Super Bowl, since the Commanders have. But I think that with this quarterback of Jayden Daniels' status and the way he's been playing, the weather is going to be chilly and whatever. But I just think that right now they have such a confidence in this team right now that they don't care about who they play. They didn't care if it was the Rams or the Eagles, because when you ask the players, they say, we don't care.
We don't care. Okay, it's prediction time now.
It's going to be a good game, because you asked me about Jayden Daniels, but you also have to think about Jalen Hurts. what quarterback are we going to see from that side of the ball with the knee injury and everything, and the fact that they haven't played really well.
He can erupt.
He hasn't played really well in the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. So it's prediction time. So let's start with the AFC side. You got the Buffalo Bills traveling to Kansas City. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. This has always been a classic game. You got a number 1 defense, and Patrick hasn't been playing well, and Josh has been playing at an MVP level. Who do you have coming out of the AFC representing them in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you know, Josh Allen has had an all-pro year. I mean, lights out to him. I mean, he really played well. But you know what? I can never go against the Kansas City Chiefs, no matter what or who's playing well. And Patrick Mahomes, he may have not had his previous grand years, but he had enough to be able to get this team to the wins that they had. They're playing at Arrowhead Stadium at home in that crowd, and they got healthy at the most critical time. Kelsey is starting to play well. That offensive and defensive line. I mean, if you don't turn over the ball, then you know it's key. You know, and you look at Kansas City as far as the turnover thing. They turned over the ball and came back and won. So I'm not picking against, even though Buffalo has played well and everybody's saying, is this their year? You're going up to Arrowhead Stadium. Andy Reid has willed that team into some tough situations to pull them out. So I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs until they say otherwise. They won championship game after championship, Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Yep. So Buffalo has proved to me that this is their year, but I'm not taking them. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a close one.
It's going to be a close one. Okay, so
you got on Buffalo colors, though.
Say that again.
You got on Buffalo colors, though.
Hey, I don't have on Buffalo colors. I just got on a color. But look, I'm still picking Kansas City.
I can dig it.
There we go. So here we go. We got to travel up to Philadelphia. The Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Who you got?
I'm picking the Commanders still, only because they're the hot team. They're the ones what I saw in Detroit, and there's 2 different teams and whatever, but they got weapons. Anytime you can take down a team like the Detroit Lions in that hostile environment with that noise and everything, and you got Jayden Daniels on your team, and you got a wounded quarterback over on the other side, I'm picking the Commanders. I'm not picking with my heart and whatever. I'm looking at, you know, this team going into this game and the matchups and so forth. Even with Cosby being out and everything, I think they got enough bodies that, you know, that will step in. But I'm taking the Commanders in this game too. I mean, it's going to be a close game. But if Philadelphia had been playing anywhere close to good, and I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles, because I think this is an NFC matchup again against teams that, you know, finally the NFC East is back. It's going to be a fun game to watch and everything. So the Commanders have shocked me, you know, in the last 3 or 4 games. And I'm not, just like Kansas City, I'm not betting against them.
All right. So I appreciate your time. Yes. And you know, we
want good football, right? We just want good football.
Yeah, I think we'll get 2 good games this weekend. I think we'll get
2 great games. But Ms. Hopkins, I know that the local media has suffered a loss today in losing Pete Medhurst. Can you just tell us the type of person that Pete was real fast?
Yeah, you know, anytime you lose a person just with great character, great personality, just a gift to the journalism family and everything, and to lose him to battling cancer, you know, I said cancer strikes again. You know, being a cancer survivor myself, it hits home. So to lose him to this disease and everything, I just tell people, please go get your checkups. Make sure that, you know, you're up on your health, be your number 1 advocate and everything. But this was a huge loss to the community, the Washington community, but even more so to the journalism family of what he brought to every walk of journalism, as far as the Capitals, the Commanders, all walks of this sports community, Navy, and all of that. it was a shock, to hear that of his death. But I prayed for his family and his loved ones. My condolences go to them, but a great loss to the community in so many ways.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
We always appreciate it. And I hope that come Saturday around 8 or something like that, you're booking travels to New Orleans.
Well, that'll be Sunday because both games are Saturday.
That's right, Sunday. That's right, Sunday.
Right.
That's what I meant. Sunday around 8.
I'm hoping for the Super Bowl too. So
You got family in there?
Let's see if the Commanders could pull this out and head to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be a story? Whether no matter who you root for or what team you like and whatever, when you think about history and a team that went against the odds and whatever and find themselves there, just goes to say that, the NFL, things can happen, dreams can come true. So
yeah, really fast.
And for Jayden Daniels in his rookie year, wouldn't that be special for the
Why not us?
Year?
Why not us?
As they say, why not us?
Why not us?
30 for another time, please. No,
don't worry, we got you.
I don't know if
this was going to end with a positive.
I don't know if I can take it, Donna.
Why not us?
Thank you so much, Ms. Hopkins. We appreciate
y'all.
it.
Y'all just better be worried about getting y'all a coach.
We got a lot of problems. It don't begin with the coach. It go way further than the coach.
Exactly. We don't even have time to get into that. But I don't want to make your heart bleed anymore.
I will say this. I hope, like I told him, I hope it's burning Jerry to his soul to watch his coaches that left under his regime come there in Division 4, being Dan Witt, Kellen Moore, even in
Philadelphia.
They'll be in this position that he wants to be in so bad. It's almost ironic because it's what Dan Snyder had to watch when he watched McVay, O'Connell, McClure, McDaniels, Shanahan, all leave and have success when they left. So it's a silver lining to this for me. I'm like, I hope he sees this and it just burns him.
I know it's eating him away as much as it's eating Dan Snyder away. But thank you, Dallas, for all the players that were on your team last year that's on the Commanders and your coaches.
Well, we're giving a lot to you. We're giving a lot to you. We gave y'all north.
Thank you, Donna. We do appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time. That is Miss Donna Hopkins. You can always find her on YouTube, on Tony McGee's Sports Podcast as well. Check them out. She does a great job here. As soon as Deacon gets back, we'll bring him back in, and we can pull that pin out of what we was talking about there. It looks like.
I see.
It looks
like exciting.
It looks like,
but it's really important, man. I think we definitely have to speak on the fact that I'm interested to see the mentality that you all come out, because, like Donna said, they want to go into this with the whole. They want to go into this with the whole house money, relax, no big game. But this is a big game, and it's going to be the team that can channel that big game energy into a singular focus. I believe
not that big D energy, because we sent them home last week.
Oh man, a big Detroit.
Yo, you got focus on that one, homie. You gotta be careful.
No. Y'all gotta know
that's what
you're taking in the direction.
That's what
that is not a fine. That is not a fine. That is not a fine. Those of you that know exactly what I'm talking about, that was the dude. That was the dude that came out and said, "Washington, you wanted Detroit. Well, Detroit's got you." That dude. That was the name of his show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You make sure you explain it that way.
Missed that part.
No, that was him. That's the dude that everybody went after this week. The Commanders fans fired right back at him, and he acknowledged. He was like, "Commanders fans are really, really good fans." He said, so that goes out to all of us as well. Commanders fans are really good fans. He said they came at me immediately. They didn't wait until after the game was over to come at me. He says, now I got to eat it. He says, unlike the Minnesota Vikings fans, when I say something, they don't say anything until the end, until they beat us or whatever. But yeah, see, look, there it is right there. Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
John capping for you. It's all good.
No, John, not capping for me. Check it out for yourself. HR, go ahead and check it out. Check it out for yourself. Go ahead and Google that and see if it comes back, it is not a podcast, then I'll take the fine.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
That's what it is.
What's
good, man? How are you?
What's up, man? They made us stop and go back.
They made y'all double back.
They made us stop and go back until to get out by 7. So it's a lot. It's still a lot.
Y'all got a lot of work down there, don't y'all?
Listen, they got a lot of work.
In the farther south. No, it skipped us went farther south.
Okay, I know Houston looked terrible now, so.
Yeah.
Listen, let's do a little something real quick, okay? We talked about the Washington Commanders taking on Detroit. Ms. Hopkins covered enough for us, right? Let's flip over to the AFC side of things, where we had the Sunday night game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills. And we talked about something showing up again, which is turnovers, lack of concentration here, right? Did Buffalo win that game, or did the Ravens gift it?
Both can be true.
They won the game, man. And listen, you got to play to the end. It doesn't matter when you make your mistakes. The mistakes have been made. It just so happens that it was the last pass. It was unfortunate, but you got to make that play. He's a professional. He should have caught the ball. I was rooting for Lamar, but he can only do but so much. So, you can't take away the defense, and they made him pass like that. He made him catch like that, whatever it is. But it is what it is. Come on, leave Big Al alone, man.
No, not Big Al. He's talking about Al that's right next to you.
Oh, word?
Yeah, Al is a Cowboys fan who was traded mid-season to the Pittsburgh Steelers from the Cowboys.
Picked up off waivers in the postseason. But
he claimed off waivers. And then I guess he'll be a Kansas City fan if Kansas City wins, or maybe a Philadelphia fan if Philly wins.
He's a traitor.
Don't let lady
where your feet at?
the wrong way, okay?
Yeah, put your 10 toes down. Come on, don't be running all
I got 10 toes down, baby. 10 toes down, and put the fingers on the face. You good, baby?
10 toes down. Okay, listen.
10 toes down.
Said, which happened in this game? Did Buffalo win, or did the Ravens give it away?
It could be a little bit of both. Just like Al said, there were plays left out there by Baltimore. There were plays left out there by Buffalo as well. The game actually could have been a lot farther apart than it was. You can't people who are blaming Andrews for that drop at the end of the game. No, because they were in the red zone multiple times and they didn't get points that they needed to officially win that game. So that's what I'm saying. So you can't put that on one person. I mean, clearly, I was like everybody else, dude, you should caught the ball. But and one of the things I said, people want to watch these games outside. Baltimore has an outdoor stadium. Ravens, Baltimore and Buffalo both have outdoor stadiums. This is what happens when you have outdoor stadiums.
Weather,
hands are cold, ball is frozen, you slip. Outdoor stadium.
It's part of the game.
It's part of the game.
It's not like one team is. It's not like one team is.
You're not going to get
the other team is playing in negative whatever.
You're not going to get the hard ball in the dome pick. You did not. You're not going to get a hard.
You know what you also get. You know what you also get in the dome. You get field turf. You get the AstroTurf. You get
some people have grass.
Bodies.
They have grass.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Arizona has grass.
The Arizona Stadium, which is the only probably one because they roll their grass out. They let it get light.
There's more than one stadium like that. I'm just giving you an example.
Okay.
No, but I'm just saying when I remember they made the stadium in New York outdoors. There were mistakes made because outdoor. You see what Minnesota did? Look, we got people not showing up even for playoff games. It's too cold out here. You need to put a top on. Because remember the year before they opened the stadium. Wait. The year before they opened the stadium, it snowed so much that they shut down the
It don't
city.
matter. If you want to go to the Super Bowl, it can't. You can't just say. Explain Kansas City then. Kansas City's outdoor stadium. They
got people lost toes. Pick. What do you mean?
They've been to 7 straight championships. Both teams
they got fans who lost fingers and toes in that game. Pick.
Both teams have to play in the element. Said
it's a factor.
But I understand what Sid is saying. In the Kansas City game, you guys remember even the equipment failed. Mahomes' helmet cracked.
Exactly.
I feel like there should be a limit. We talked about this last season when it happened.
Are we talking about this has to be basketball now? Everybody has to have an indoor stadium?
Nobody said that.
I think elements are important.
Because they have postponed, games at some point in time because of the weather. Buffalo, they'll have their fans come out there and shovel, but they have postponed games before as well. I mean, when you have an outdoor stadium, there are factors.
I don't think that's an option. We postpone games due to COVID because not having enough players and things like that. I'm
not talking about COVID. I'm talking about we're talking about the weather. What I'm saying is, when you have an outdoor stadium, you have situations beyond your control, and that comes to play. That is something that you do have to take into account when you're playing these games, when you're building a stadium. Like, truth be told, I still don't understand why Buffalo has an open stadium.
Because it's
they want the weather to be to their benefit. They think that's an added benefit.
But sometimes it's to nobody's benefit.
No. Let me say something.
We really have to have this conversation. I gotta say, this is the dumbest conversation that we're having, and I'm not allowing it today. No, this is not where we're going. No.
Where the conversation comes in is that we need to build a stadium here in DC. And will it be open or will it be closed? Or will it be a retracting?
I think it'll be retracting.
But that's why I mentioned it, because that is a conversation
many people have. Buffalo to have an open air stadium, especially when you have Miami in your division.
No, you're right.
Get Miami coming north,
but sometimes
late in the season.
It's
the same way that Miami has an advantage when you get Buffalo coming south.
It's an issue for both teams sometimes. When Mahomes was playing at home and his helmet cracked,
you got a backup helmet. There's a backup helmet. I'm with
you. Elements
both teams play in the same thing.
That's the point.
The elements
what I'm saying is sometimes
it's
not a
because
benefit to either team.
I'm
There are times where it's not a benefit.
Let me tell you. Let me give you an example of what you said. You're wearing a Rydell X2533 helmet. Just throwing it out there. That helmet cracks on national TV. Guess what helmet they're not going to sponsor with next year?
He had the same helmet on his time.
How many helmets
cracked?
I'm just telling you. It goes down. Not just it goes down. You can't use that helmet.
If only one helmet cracked, you can't blame it on the weather.
That's what I'm saying. It does.
The weather should not play a part in the Super Bowl. That's why I agree with having the Super Bowl in a controlled environment. But the road to get there, you play the games. If you don't want to play the cold weather stadium, win at home if you're win your games if you're warm weather.
Correct. What I'm saying, and I think what Sid was saying, sometimes it's not a benefit to anyone. And they released a statement saying that helmet wasn't truly designed for that type of weather. So with that said, when you have a cold weather, area, you do have to make modifications, but keep in mind there are times where it's not going to benefit either team. That's what I'm saying. I get it, but I think I'm going to put it out there that this is not necessarily a stupid conversation. When we sit here, it's going to be 6 degrees here tonight. It's going to be 6 degrees here tonight. And
would you not want to play a game? Would you not want your team to play a game? If they had a playoff game at night, 6 degrees. Because like I said, I think both teams play in the same elements. It's the team that's a mental toughness that you got to develop.
You're right.
And whatever team's mentally tougher to get through that and now allow that to add to it, that
So
team
let me say this. I'm not saying that everyone should have a dome. That's number one. Number two, I'm not saying that that's an excuse. What I'm saying is that there are times where the weather is not beneficial to anyone.
Of course. I understand that.
That's what I'm saying. So, when we sit here and talk about this is stupid conversation, it ain't stupid when it's
man.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that part.
The weather had nothing to do with Mark Andrews dropping the ball. The weather had nothing to do with Mike.
Actually, it did.
It had nothing to do with Mark Andrews getting the ball.
Actually, part of it did.
Out.
Because when he fumbled
it was frozen.
Wait. When the ball hit his hand, he fumbled it. Before he could catch again, what happened, Pick?
That's called a drop, Sid.
Wait.
They say drop because of cold.
Wait, answer the question. When he fumbled the ball at first, he was trying to grab it. What happened?
He was backpedaling, Sid. You can't.
But what happened?
He was backpedaling. He could have
not slipped. Come on in the door, Al. Come on in the door, Al.
Man, you can't excuse
me.
I get it. He was backpedaling. It was a low throw. He's backpedaling. He's going backwards, trying to reach down for a low throw.
That's the end zone.
He lost footing because of the ground.
No, he lost footing because of the end zone.
I think the ball hit his knee.
But he was backpedaling and the ball was low.
The ball in his hand.
Listen, they've been catching the ball all game, so it's not about whether the ball was frozen.
It's a drop.
It's just a drop.
Exactly. Mark Andrews did not say, I dropped the ball because of it was cold.
But
come on, man.
To your original question, Pick. I thought it was both because Buffalo forced two of those turnovers. Whenever I don't understand Lamar. Buffalo knocked that ball out. Buffalo sacked them to knock the ball to have them. So the turnovers were forced turnovers. But like I said, and if Mark Andrews makes that catch, it was still 1 minute and 33 seconds left on that clock, and Buffalo had 2 timeouts. They could still lose that game. So that catch might not have. It might have tied the game, but it's not to say that Buffalo wouldn't have came back and still won that game.
I'm not blaming Mark Andrews for dropping the ball. I'm just saying people have to realize at the same time when you build outdoor stadiums. Like I say, Baltimore has an outdoor stadium as well as Buffalo. When you build an outdoor stadium, weather sometimes makes an ugly head in that game. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm surprised that no one said that Baltimore got back into the game by coming out and handing the ball to Derrick Henry. And then after they scored their touchdown, stopped Buffalo, they came back out and started passing the ball again.
Well, they were moving the ball, though. That turnover by Mark Andrews, they were moving the ball very well.
That's the
drive
when he got the ball punched out. But it's late in the game, and you clearly see that the Buffalo Bills did not want to tackle Derrick Henry, and you still had Lamar running well, too. But then you come back after scoring a touchdown on pretty much a Derrick Henry drive, and you decide to pass the ball again.
That was one of the complaints, Toothpick, that you didn't have design runs for Lamar. Lamar scrambled early for a long run, but truthfully, he didn't have a lot of rushing attempts in this game because they didn't have any design runs or read option plays in that whole game, which was a mystery to me of why. And I think played right into the hands of Buffalo's defense. Because I didn't understand that Todd Monken game plan of not using what had got you there and the element of having the most dangerous weapon at quarterback as a weapon.
Right. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles played before the Baltimore game. They took on the Los Angeles Rams. And what was a tale of truly two different games because you had the before the snow and you had the after the snow game. And at first it looked like LA wanted nothing to do with the snow. They couldn't figure it out, but then they got hot a little later in the game. They started to get some stops, but then here come the turnovers. Here come the incomplete passes and things of that nature. But they did go to that guy, Puka Nacua, and they absolutely wind up. Jalen Hurts get himself rolled up on, and he lost his mobility. And then they started going back to Saquon to put that game on ice. Deacon, what did you see in that Philly LA game?
Same as you saw, man. I was only concentrating on what Philly looked like. You know, I figured they was going to beat the Rams just because Rams, you know, coming from a warm weather climate, you know, you got, like you said, you got issues when you go into the cold, and plus it was coming all the way across the state. I mean, so it's bad that way. What I liked, well, not like, I don't like seeing people get hurt. That's not my thing. But I'm only looking at the benefits of our team.
Mm-hmm.
When he got hurt, when he hurt his knee, my confidence just went up further. Because, like you said, in the second game we played Philly, we stopped Saquon Barkley in the second half. We made a point of it, and it changed the whole game around. Okay, so I'm not worried about Saquon. What I'm worried about is Jalen, whatever his name is, their quarterback, Hurst. So with him having a bum knee at this point, we don't have to worry about him scrambling out too much.
That knee getting shot up. That knee's gonna get shot up. He's not gonna feel no pain.
It's gonna get shot up.
That knee's gonna get shot up.
But that's one important thing too. I think that, and I've had this conversation with one of your fellow Commander fans. That's one thing that they seem to overlook, that Jalen didn't play almost 3/4 of that game. The last time you all played, that you all did win. You only had 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
But is that not part of football? Is that not part of football?
The reason why it doesn't matter. The reason why it doesn't matter is because we laid them out on their defense. Their defense was at full strength.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because their defense was at full strength.
The offense had Pickens in there. That doesn't matter.
But he was still scoring the ball too.
They're going to get the same amount of points.
Oh my God! No, their whole offensive style is going to change. It's not about the points; it's the style of how they score. They're going to take more time off the clock. Let me just say this, Deacon. They're going to take more time off the clock because they're going to be controlling how they score by running and having that mix. You all weren't prepared for Pickens, so he was able to pick you all apart a little bit, and he got hurt. And I think another quarterback came in. What I say, that whole game plan changed, and it becomes a frenzy. You have to. It's a different game plan with your starting quarterback being Jalen Hurts with that run option in there, and when that hole is removed, that's how your play calling is a little bit different. I'm not saying you all can't win. I'm just saying you would have to remember their starting quarterback did not play for 3/4. Mariota could come in for Jayden and play. You can still win a game.
No, that's not true.
Let me say this.
Let me clarify something real fast. There were 2 quarterbacks that played in the second game. There was Jalen Hurts and Pickett.
Yeah.
Pickett didn't get hurt until the following week. That's it.
Okay.
So Kenny Pickett was 14 of 24 for 146 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. So he had a 72% quarterback rating, right? A 72% quarterback rating. So he played well.
And let me get this out. Hold on, Al. Both games that we played, they got us on the rushing yards. Both games.
They have a better running attack. They should.
Right, but we still won. Most of the time, they beat us on the rushing. Well, I think the last game it was a little closer to even than the game before. Mm-hmm. But rushing yards, they had almost 100 yards more than us.
I understand.
And we still won that game.
What I'm saying is, the second game you all won, you all had 5 turnovers, which you all technically shouldn't have won that game. But I think something that kept you all in that game, even though Kenny Pickett went with one touchdown, 1 pick, the game, it was more plays for you all to have the opportunity to come back because their game plan changed of how they call plays without Jalen Hurts.
No.
Let me say this.
Now, go ahead, Deacon. Go ahead.
The reason why
every time you say something against Pitt, you think I'm taking something against you. You lose their starting quarterback, it's a difference, Pitt. You can hold your head and put your hand on this.
got you.
But the different way with the offense coordinator that calls the plays.
You're right.
If
You're right.
Naylor comes in, they're going to call it different than they call it with Jayden. That's all I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the only reason I'm saying it doesn't matter is because if they would have played their offense differently. They would have driven the ball differently.
Yes.
But you ask Tampa Bay and you ask Detroit,
We're
who can take up a whole quarter on offense?
We're talking
So
about
we're going to be the
Philly.
one controlling the time. We're going to be controlling the time.
We're talking about Philly.
Listen, we had to go through them two division champions.
I'm not taking nothing away. What I'm saying to you is this: you all don't get the number of plays possibly because of how they call the games differently. How do you to come back?
So you're right. So wait, hold on. So as far as total plays, the last game that we played against them, they had 71, we had 64. However, the total plays, that's total plays. However, they allowed 4 sacks. They punted 4 times. Their third down efficiency was 3 for 16. Ours was 7 for 13. So
you took the last game.
The last game that we played against them. So
that's
and
the impact of having a starting quarterback.
We had more yards and
no
penalties.
push.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at it like this. Yeah, we messed up. We messed up a lot. So if we were more disciplined, if we didn't have 93 yards and penalties, if we didn't have 5 turnovers, if we were more disciplined, the game would have been further apart than what it is.
You're right. You're right.
Hold on.
I understand.
Al, I hear what you're saying, Al, and I totally. I cannot sit here as a football fan and say we don't deserve that win because somebody got hurt, because somebody gets hurt every game. But what I'm saying is, what I'm going to say is this: late in that game, there was a pass to Devontae Smith. He was open. It was a third down that if he converts it, they run the clock out. Now, does Philly apologize for that win?
No.
If he catches that ball and say, we apologize for that win because y'all beat Kenny Pickett.
I'm not asking you all to apologize.
What he's saying is, what he's saying is,
your quarterback is not your starting quarterback. Isn't playing for a half a game. You all deserve the win. You all did what you're supposed to do to win. You all had 5 turnovers. It's no discounted win. What I'm saying to you is this: it's a different. That game could have been very different though if their starting quarterback does not get hurt. Right. That's all I'm saying.
Who's to say?
Because
if Jalen Hurts, if Jalen Hurts makes that pass,
to the first game y'all played,
if Jalen Hurts makes that pass that he catches it, it still comes to the players making the plays.
It always comes to the
when
players.
They are there.
I'm not discounting the win, Pick. I'm saying this is a different ball game. The game that you all won, they didn't play this. Okay, perfect example. You all keep telling me about how Jalen ribs were hurt. You all still won those games. You all lost some games. But you don't get to discount the loss or discount the win. You all still got to play. Mariota came in, Jalen went out. I'm not saying that it could have been. I'm saying it could have been a different ball game if Jaden Daniels was full strength, but he wasn't. And you all had to bring in and make adjustments. There's an adjustment to your game plan. So you all could have been different if Jaden would have been playing the full game. So why couldn't it have been different if Jalen would have been playing the first game? But it doesn't matter. This game counts. And hopefully he'll be there. He is slightly injured potentially, but I don't care about that. This is the 18th game of the season. Everybody's carrying injuries. So I'm not trying to discount it. I'm just saying you all acting like that win was, it was a great win. You had 5 turnovers and still got the win, which is very unusual. But I think part of the reason, potentially, is because they didn't play with their quarterback for 2.5 quarters.
But that could have been a different game. Opportunity to win. They had the lead. They had the lead.
I know they shouldn't have. You're telling me they shouldn't even have to. If I'd have told you before the game that Jalen Hurts would not play half the game, would you thought it would have came down to the last play?
If you told me that Jalen Hurts was going to play, I want to make sure.
Jalen Hurts is not going to play 2.5 quarters of the game. Would you think that the game would come down to you winning in the last play?
No, I'm gonna tell you the truth. The way that I felt about that the second Philly game was the way that I felt about the second Philly game was we absolutely had the worst possible start in NFL history to a game.
That's what I'm talking
And
about.
I felt, I got you. Hold on. But I felt, even with Jalen Hurts being hurt, that they was kicking our butt up and down the field. So
in the beginning,
because he was hurt, do I feel like because
No,
I was hurt,
no,
because he was
I'm
hurt, do I
asking
feel like we could have still lost that game?
I know
That team was clicking on all levels.
This is my question, Pig. This is my question. If before the game, before you play, before you have a bad start or anything, if I came to you before the game and say, listen, Pick, you're about to play this game, but Jalen Hurts is not going to play 2.5 quarters, would you think that game would come down to you all winning it on the last play?
No, I think it still would have came down. Hold on, wait. It still would have came down to this. And I would have told you this before the game, Al. I would have said Saquon Barkley is going to have a monster game versus us.
He's going to have to if he would play 2.5 quarters of the game. But what I'm saying, would you think that if you don't have
I thought all season that our run defense was suspect, and we are playing the best running back in football with the best offensive line. Saquon Barkley is going to have a monster game against us, and we are not going to be able to do anything about it. And he had a monster game against us.
Y'all shut him down in the second half.
In the first game.
And I wonder why. Because there was no quarterback.
In the first game, he went off for 2 carries in the fourth quarter. And that game came down to the fourth quarter.
So he had 119 yards, I think, in the first half. Or up to that point where Jalen went hurt. And he had like 20 yards the rest of the game with no Jalen Hurts in there at quarterback. That doesn't make a difference.
A.J. Brown was going bananas in that game.
A.J. Brown, I'm asking you, do you think that had anything to do with Saquon? I'm not talking about A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown didn't go bananas either. I think he might have 80. He had a touchdown, but I don't think he had
97. He had 8 catches, 97 yards.
97 yards is going off?
Along of 45.
What I'm saying is, but say how many did Saquon have in the second half? Like 25 yards? That's all he had?
Well, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Al. Let me ask you a question? And I just want to clarify one thing.
Sure.
You're saying that if Jayden was playing, we wouldn't have had the ball as much. Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to tell you why.
I know, but the reason why I say what I say is because what I'm thinking is that we've proven since Tennessee, the last 7 games, that we can hold the ball an entire. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me finish.
You're right. I'm not going to hold
the ball an entire quarter. So that would be the Philly not getting the ball as much, not us. We are controlling the ball, so Philly might not have the ball. So Jayden,
you all were turning the ball over that game. You all, if everything stays the same except Jayden doesn't get hurt, this is what I'm saying, Deacon. Look at lady. I think she said the stat. They were like 3 for 16 on third down. When you got no Jalen Hurts, it takes out the tush push. Philly doesn't. You talking about? There's a lot of things in their game plan that takes out if they don't have Jalen Hurts. Quarterback runs, the read option, all these things that have been removed from their play calling that potentially give them more plays and you less plays. But you all won the game. You all act like I'm saying y'all shouldn't have won the game. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they had to take a different game plan because the quarterback didn't play 2.5 quarters. That's not unrealistic to say. Their starting quarterback, who is very integral to what they do as an offense, rushing and passing, was gone for 2.5, and they had to put in Kenny Pickett, who was 14 for 24, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Come on.
I wasn't talking about that game. I was talking about the one coming up. And I'm just thinking we are proving to hold the ball long enough.
You had games when you didn't punt, like 4 or 5 games when you didn't punt. That's an offense that can control the ball. I'm just saying that day you had 5 turnovers. So therefore your offense wasn't clicking. And their offense wasn't able to take advantage of it they probably would have with that defense because they didn't have their starting quarterback. But that's nothing to get. That's not your fault. You all hurt him.
No, I got you.
The ground hurt him. The ground actually hurt him.
They weren't able to play their game, and if they had played the game, we might have played differently too, and it still come down to what it was. You know what I'm saying? So we might have been pressed more to play a different game.
It could have been a different way of being recalled. But like I told, I just think that you all, given that you all definitely it went from a possibly even game to you all should have been a big favorite in that game, but you all let them back in with the turnovers. That's all I'm saying.
So
Right,
we just went around the NFL. So y'all know, since we went around the NFL, y'all know what we got to do. We got to do a little bit of locker clean out now. So this is locker clean out where we are going to drag, but not really drag the teams that lost in this one and done playoff scenario. So let's start with the first teams first. What we do is we say, what is it going to take for this team to get back into the playoffs next year? Let's start with the Houston Texans. What is it going to take for the Houston Texans to get back into the playoffs next year, knowing that out of these 17 or 14 teams that made the playoffs, 7 of them won't be back next year? What will it take for the Houston Texans to make it back to the divisional round of the playoffs next year? Say it. Let's start with you.
Wide receivers. Houston came in with wide receivers that were deadline. They were out, and it took away from the run game, because they put more people in the run game, knowing that the people that the wide receivers who he had the most potential with weren't in the game. So them being hurt, John Mechie has to step up and prove that Houston made a great decision drafting him, and then allowing him to go through his illness and still kept him and not cut him, because he had a few big drops in the last game. He put the ball on the ground. So I mean, wide receiver. They need wide receiver, and I think all they need maybe 2 pieces of offensive line, but definitely wide receiver.
Well, it took you a while to get to that offensive line. Said I was going to leave it up to Lady A. Lady A, what does it take for Houston to get back to the divisional round or playoffs next year?
Say that last part.
What does it take for the Houston Texans to get back to the divisional round of the playoffs next season?
So, my cousin said Houston needs to stay healthy. That's number one. Also, I feel like they've lost some pieces from that year that who was it? Who was it that said that Houston was going to win the division?
Oh, that was Bruce Glass.
Bruce told us. I think that, they really need to just kind of, we can't say rebuild, because they need to build.
They're a loaded team. They were loaded this year. They went all in for sure.
Yeah, correct. However, loading up the team doesn't necessarily equate to making it to the playoffs or having a successful year. There are some pieces within the coaching staff that maybe that needs to change. But they really need to step it up and utilize the talent that they have in the proper way. We've seen it many times. People will have talent. The first year that the Eagles went and got all of Georgia, right? They went and got all the Bulldogs. And then that year we were like, wait, they're not playing like they just got a championship team on their roster. So I really feel like the coaching staff needs to step up. And yes, that could play a part into them being healthy as far as training and things like that. So they have the talent, but something's just missing key components. So maybe they need to revamp their coaching staff or just reevaluate it.
Deacon.
I would go with the offensive line. And the reason I say that, man, if you got a nice offense, they were good last year. They gave the quarterback more time to throw the ball more. I think they got a good running back. Mixon's a good running back. They got a good wide receiver. I think with more time, they'll have better wide receiver because time heals everything. So if they can get that boy back, more time back there again, I think that they'll come back to where they were last year. I think they were better last year than they were this year.
Yep.
But I think that line more solid again, stay healthy. I think that they'll be back in the playoffs again, man, because it's a good team. Like I say, have good pieces. And like I say, if you get that quarterback time like you did last year, then you're going to be back where you should be or want to be anyway. And you can always add pieces. You never know what's going to pop until it actually pops. But they have enough talent on here to get them back where they are today.
Al.
I had to disconnect my mic. Am I coming through good?
Yeah, you good. You good.
Yeah, because I'm sounding a little mushy with the candy in my mic. But I think, truthfully, Houston has the advantage of playing in a very bad division. So I think that's going to help them. But I think someone said the injuries was, I mean, what every team deals with, but they can't get injured so much in the same position. They had Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. They kept losing big players. They had two offensive linemen on make the Pro Bowl this year. So offensive line continue to build on that part. And like I said, and try not to, I guess everybody gets injuries, but try not to get so many injuries at the same position. Because I think that hurt them a lot with their offensive consistency this year. And I think they would have had a much better record had they been able to keep Stephon or Tank Dell with Nico Collins and help spread that offense and open that box up a little bit for Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
So I think that is, like I said, adding depth, getting healthy, and having a good offseason where they can gel and see that in CJ Stroud having a better junior year than he did
sophomore. Exactly. CJ Stroud had a pretty much the sophomore slump where he was going through things, and the league will adapt to you. So he saw a little bit more zone this year where he happened to throw his highest amount of interceptions versus zone rather than versus man-to-man, of course, right? And I think CJ needs to get a little bit mobile because that line is not the greatest. Our next team in locker clean out, the Detroit Lions.
Oh man,
Lady A,
her favorite.
Please tell us what the Detroit Lions need to do so that they are back in the divisional round of the playoffs next season.
Hold on, Pig. Look at that smile on her face.
She's so happy to tell us.
She looks happy.
She's so happy to tell us.
I'm glad you guys asked. What they need to do is throw it all away. Throw everything away. That's what they need to do.
Say it.
She called me a
Throw it away.
Throw
it away.
Throw it all the way. Say it.
Go to a new city. Get a new name. Just everything. Just throw it all away. And then maybe they'll, have a little more success than normal. And I want to point out that, you can't fault them too much. I feel like there are certain teams, and we've talked about this before, they hate to see the NFC East coming, right?
Right.
And yes, Buffalo is one. But Detroit, they are like, 0-4 against the Commanders of Washington in the playoffs. They weren't going to win. And people are talking about, the Bills. If they go to the Super Bowl, they're gonna play an NFC East team. They're not gonna win. Okay. I'm just saying.
The East is coming. The East is coming. Deacon, what do the Detroit Lions need to do to be back in the division round of the playoffs?
Detroit has an all-around pretty good team. They're strong. They hit hard. Defense is good. Running backs are good. Wide receivers are pretty good. They got hurt this year. Now, to get back, I think Racer X was probably right. They're going to have to start looking for a quarterback. I like Jared Goff, but he can be shook. He can be tamed. Obviously by Dan Quinn, since he's never beaten Dan Quinn's defense before. So there's something going on that he knows, he sees in that defense. So as if they can get them a draft quarterback or bring somebody in, I don't know. But they need to start looking for a quarterback, but they need to get healthy most of all. And they got a big problem because they just lost their offensive coordinator. And they lose their defensive coordinator. So it's on Dan, the other Dan.
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell to make a decision on who is going to be right to lead this team on. Are you going to bring an offensive coordinator who is more apt for Jared Goff's game, or are you going to bring somebody in who's more innovative that needs a more innovative quarterback who can do a little more than just stand back there and make throws? I mean, he needs a, I don't know. If you're going to want a regular quarterback, you better bring in a regular offensive coordinator.
Got you. Say it. Let's go say it. What did Detroit need to do there?
Raise your hand if you said Detroit will get back to the Super Bowl. NFC Championship game. That would be me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he should have kicked this last year.
You did.
When you have a team you're not supposed to beat down, You take the points.
Damn, tell them again. Say it. What you say?
Take the points.
There
When
you
you're a 9-point dog and you're blazing the team you're not supposed to be beating, you
do
take
what?
the points and go up 3 scores.
There you
But
go.
no, he's been doing it all year. It's the playoffs.
Comes back to haunt you.
It's different.
So,
Ow.
back to that being said,
Oh, okay.
they got to fix the defensive line. They got to get Aiden Hutchinson back into the game. He makes a
Yeah,
difference.
they do.
Because
Yeah,
you can't double both of them, him and the guy on the other side if he's playing. So the defensive wise, quarterback, he is who he is. He was in the Rams. I mean, he was out in the Rams. So we've seen that before. We've seen who he is. Does he have the potential? Yes. Does he have the potential to look down and start throwing the ball out? Yes, he does. So they got to fix it. They got to figure out something else to do. They better yet they got to draft. No, they already drafted a quarterback.
No, they had Teddy Bridgewater.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't draft a quarterback.
They didn't have
No.
hold on, I got to find something. Never mind. So they got to groom a replacement for him. He ain't got that many years left. I know they signed to a big contract, but he ain't got that many years.
Last year, so he got a couple years left.
Yeah,
So-
his play has not diminished. His play's not diminished. He has the weapons. His
Mind control, baby.
he has the
We're all
weapons.
good when it's
Al,
good. Some
Al,
people are good
what
front
did he
runners.
do, Al?
Well, let me say this first of all. Washington, pay attention. Because what Sid just said is so important. Them not taking advantage last year to win that game. Because I'd say all the time to my fans, I think you all are going to be a better team than next year than you are this year. But it's no guarantee that you'll make it as far next year as you
Yep.
did this year. So you got to take advantage of those things. But to say in regards to Detroit, they're not going to change. They're not going to change quarterbacks because they believe in golf. Dan Campbell.
They have one already.
But
They do.
their thing is, can they promote from within? In regards to filling
That's
the
what I'm talking
position,
about right there.
filling the position of offensive coordinator, yes, filling the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator positions. That's going to be key for them. I think talent-wise, the GM they draft very well. They draft, and the good thing about them, they're talent loaded, so they don't have to draft for need; they can draft for depth. And they ain't been through so many defensive players this year. They probably have an array of people to pick from to reload their defense because they lost so many people on their defense. So I think they just need to restock on defense. Their division is going to get tougher. Anytime you have an in-house guy go in division, as you can see the Cowboys with losing Dan Quinn to you all and losing and having a team that has some talent and a quarterback. You always can take a step back, so the division is going to get tougher, and a division that was seemingly the toughest division this year. So their thing is going to be, I think, in-house. How much can they fill their coordinator positions with capable people who can step right in, and so they don't lose a beat?
There you go. I think y'all covered that really, really well. Our next team that we're going to talk about here is the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams fall to the Philadelphia Eagles. You can clearly see that Cooper Kupp is not the same person. They may have lost Aaron Donald, but did they find a monster in Versa?
Yes, they did. Versa.
Say it. Say it.
Cooper Kupp is a free agent.
He might be a Washington Redskin. Commander.
He's a free agent. They haven't said anything about re-signing him yet, but he's a free agent, official. They got to fix the offensive line. They got some guys on the interior that got bullied by Philadelphia. I mean, real live bully. That's the biggest part because Stafford is not a mobile quarterback.
Nope.
He's not one of them guys that's going to take off and start running. He's going to be right there in the pocket, and then it is what it is. And matter of fact, I think Stafford has a year left in his contract as well. So they got things down the line they look at, and they got Garoppolo, they got Stetson Bennett on the roster as well. But I mean, that's what they got to look at down the line. But offensive line, whether or not Cooper Kupp returns is actually Cooper Kupp and Tutu Atwell are free agents. So they actually got to replace more than one person
One
on
wide receiver.
the
Yeah,
wide
they do.
receiver side.
They got
I forgot
Cooper.
that was- So they're gonna have to figure out that situation, and then, but you're right, that boy Verse.
Gotta find some corners. Gotta find some corners to go with them. Deacon, what you got for the Rams, Deacon?
I was gonna say corners, but you're right. I mean that That defensive line, that dude's nice. But like everybody else, at this point, man, Stafford is getting older.
Yes.
You know, they need to start finding a replacement for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main. If they got to start drafting too, and stop just picking people off the wire. They got to start building their draft. They got to start learning how to pick.
They ain't had no draft picks, dog.
But that's what I'm saying. But they're gonna have
traded them all.
That's what I was about to ask. How many draft picks they got?
Hey, they got some now, but they didn't have nothing the last couple years.
They got a couple.
They traded them all.
And you can always trade for draft picks. Let's just be honest. It's just the way the team is now. But they're gonna have to start drafting and building their squad from the draft, because the way they're doing it is piecemeal every year. And you can find a little bit here and a little bit there, but that's not going to really take you to the Super Bowl, because it's not a team. It's just hired hands. So, but the number one thing they got to do is find a replacement for Stafford soon, because if you wait till he's retired or feels like retired, then you're pretty much you're going to lose about 10 years off your squad.
It's already too late.
It could be, but it can always hit.
Lady A.
You know,
They got one already. They got Stetson Bennett.
I knew it was coming. I told Stetson Bennett, baby. Tell him say it, dog.
So I think that the Rams should invest in maybe their offensive line. If you're going to have a senior citizen as a quarterback, you might want to make sure that you can protect them. Why you make that face? Why y'all making this face at me? I'm just saying.
Who do they have at quarterback?
Huh? You said what now?
What did you say they had at quarterback?
A senior citizen.
Oh Lord.
No, a
He's
senior
older,
citizen.
John.
I was just checking.
I'm just saying, you know,
I
you
want to
might
make sure I heard what I heard.
You might want to invest. I'm just saying, you might want to invest in the offensive line to protect your quarterback. I think that, you know, once you do that, you'll give your quarterback a little more time, a little more room. I mean, and all in all, they really lost that game, like for real. It wasn't like we can't sit here and argue about that. They lost, and in order to, you know, do better next season, yeah, go ahead and get an offensive line. Work with what you got. I don't know how many picks they have next, you know, for next year, but we'll see. Oh, thank you. But yeah, that's all I have is offensive line.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Al, finish
I'm
this
going
up.
to reiterate what Lady A said. First thing, that any team and every team should always invest in the offensive line, because you can never have too many good offensive linemen or backup offensive linemen. But I think for the Rams, the biggest thing they need to do is start getting. They have almost like that Cincinnati Bengal disease. They get off to the worst starts the last couple of years. They're always behind the 8 ball the second half of the season, starting off 2-4, 1-4, 2-5. They get off with whether it's injuries or a roster not being complete. Maybe it's the LA thing of everything that's going on at a late time. I don't know. But they always seem to have to be coming down the stretch of playing catch up with their record and into the division. So if they can get some offensive linemen, definitely tighten up their secondary. They definitely have to start thinking about a quarterback of the future if Stetson Bennett isn't going to be that guy. Because I don't know. I mean, you know, we're always going to hear elbow issue with Stafford, a shoulder issue, some type of nagging older quarterback injury with him. So they got to start building that way, but offensive line, and try to get off in the season to a better start from the beginning and being ready to go at the beginning.
All right. You're watching First Thing Podcast. We are live. We have our friend Deacon from the OGs of the DMV joining us right now. We're talking about locker clean out for those who have not made it to the championship round of the playoffs. We're dragging them, but we're not dragging them. We actually want to find out what is it that they need to do to get back into the playoffs next year, since half of the field will not be back. So we're down to our last team here. Get ready, because Lady A has a spot of tea, and Al has the foursome that he's going to present us with. Don't forget to like and subscribe to First String Podcast. Hit the bell to enable alert for new content. The most important part is that you come back.
Yes.
Right? And tell a friend to tell a friend. So our last team that we're going to look at right now is Baltimore Ravens. They added Derrick Henry in the offseason to give Lamar a running game. They have Zay Flowers. They have a couple of other awesome wide receivers. Not only that, but they have this young tight end that we talked about, and likely who is performing much, much better. And we asked if he's that next guy to take over. So their defense is playing well. Their special teams plays well. It just seems to be turning the ball over when it comes to critical moments in the game, critical points in time. Al, this is your division, second division. It's an AFC division. Al, what do Baltimore Ravens do?
That girl up there like that. But no, the Ravens are the Ravens, man. They draft well. They're from top to bottom. They're a top-notch organization, man, in regards to drafting well, playing well players. I just wonder how many times they're going to have to keep pulling themselves off the ground, because what some of the post-game presses that I've been seeing from them worry me more than anything. Even with Humphreys talking about some guys going to be here, some guys going to not. I think they have the bones, but what that defense did in the first half of the season wasn't what it did in the second half of the season. And that's the problem with them. So they didn't play like a Raven on defense, which is their motto. That's in the first half of the season. They lost 2 games to 2 last place teams, Cleveland and the Raiders. I mean, you don't lose those games, you're potentially playing in Baltimore and not
Baltimore instead of Buffalo.
Yes.
Yep.
So I mean, that's those type of things, having those lapses, and for whatever reason, the Ravens, always seem to do that at some point during the season where they have these unexplainable games they lose. So, I mean, like I said, they have the bones there. I mean, I think Derrick Henry signed for another year. The offensive line is good. Zay Flowers should be back. But the defense is needed. Defensive line is very good. Linebacker core. They just got to come together earlier and play like a Raven defense that we expect them to play.
All right. Lady A.
So the Ravens, we know they can get to the playoffs. We know that. Like, I feel like they're similar to the Chiefs. We know next season that they probably 9 times out of 10 they will get to the playoffs, right? But what they need to do is have more heart, stamina, and consistency when it comes to their postseason. That's what.
Right now, or something else.
You said what now? That's what they need. Pretty much what Al said. I feel the same way. What they did to get to the playoffs is not what we saw. That last game, it was like they let their foot off the gas. They let their foot off the gas. So I feel like, yes, they need more heart and consistency. And I mean, they need to do some, some I don't know, some more drills or something. Because
you're not making it better. You're not making it no better.
Look, man.
All right, Deacon.
I'm taking what I'm saying out of context. They were gassed in this game.
Lifeline.
That's what they said. You are not muted. Going off camera does not mute you.
Saying, did you hear this? Did you hear what she was saying?
That's what I said.
What's they ran out of gas. More drills.
They were gassed.
What?
More drills. She definitely more. See
what that didn't sound.
Ain't sound up, man.
Ain't sound right, lady. That's fun.
I'm just saying. They gave
Words
up.
don't want to hear.
Deacon, what do the Baltimore Ravens need to do to get back to the divisional round of the playoffs?
Well, I mean, everybody knows that Baltimore is good. Their offense is good. Their defense is good. They have a well-rounded team. What they need to do, since they ran out of gas, is they need to put some gas in that car, drive down 95 to Washington, and ask them how they play together, how they start off the right way. Come on, dog, I'm busy. How they start off the right way, how they keep going, how they play for each other, and figure out what makes them a team that's not traveling up the highway. because obviously if they're not playing, if they got more turmoil over there than we do, and it's showing. I think if Zay Flowers is healthy, if all in all, I think they would have won. But I mean, health is part of the game. But they just need to go ahead and travel down 95, man, and get some knowledge from Big Dan down there, so they can take it on up there. Because at some point, they have their coach for so long. Sometimes, it just the message gets cold, and they've heard it before. So maybe they just need some turnover. Sometimes a little turnover is not bad. Turnover in the game is bad, but not off the field. So maybe they need to bring somebody in who is my dog, man. I apologize.
No worries, man. Your lap dog is ready to sit down. He's getting his lap, man.
So that's all I'm saying. They need to find a motivation of some sort to stay together and finish the project. Because right now they're not finishing like this. That's all.
There we go. Playing like a Raven.
See, I understand you, Deacon.
Hey, just gas the car. Just gas the car if it's all right.
Come on, Sid. Tell us about Baltimore news,
I gotta follow that. First of all, Tom Munn can go back to the University of Georgia and start there.
That's the takeaway. That's a minus.
You looking for a head coach job, y'all?
He going where the money's at. That's what Tom Munkin is, right? He's a hired hand. He said it when he left Georgia. He going where the money's at. That's where he's in his career. Not where the head coach or not. He going where the money's at, and that's why he left Georgia. Because trust me, he was being paid well.
Not well enough.
He was being paid well, but he had an opportunity. Thought he was getting paid better somewhere else. That's what he did. I mean, ain't mad at him. The loss of Zay Flowers made it really hurt this team because he was taking the top off. They had to respect his speed, and he was taking the top off, giving other people chances to get the ball with those underneath routes.
Bateman, likely.
They need to fix. I can't remember what side of the offensive line it was that struggled a little bit. Anyway, they need to fix like maybe one, maybe two people on offensive line. But the offensive line didn't play too bad, especially in the run area where they're getting those yards late in the game. It was just disappointing that they kind of went away from it at the same time, which took the ball out of Lamar's hand. But Lamar was the reason they had those fumbles in the first place. Though he has to learn how to protect. He has to learn how to protect the ball, especially in certain points in the pocket, so that he has to go and do what he needs to do. But yeah, so
I'll agree with that fan position. They got the bones, man. They ain't that.
Yeah. Well, the Baltimore Ravens, to me, they do have the ingredients. And Lady A, you should say something about what you said something about. Are you ready, Lady A?
I told you I called him Jake. Raise the X. Tell him just go what I'm saying. Jesus Daniels, man, walking on water.
What?
Well, y'all know what time it is. The ladies got the big screen. So that can only mean one thing. Y'all know what it is. It's tea time. It's time for Lady A's Avenue Hot Tea. Get your pinkies ready. Get your drinks ready. Lady A has the floor. Lady A's Hot Tea is sponsored by Hot Water Cornbread.
Oh, boy.
Get you some.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank our sponsors. I think.
Right.
So the first thing I want to do, I actually have 2 spots of tea that affect both games.
2 lumps. Say it. 2 lumps.
Okay. 2. So number 1, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, right? So for a while, people were saying that the refs favored him, right?
Okay.
A lot of people say that. Well, it came to light on a very large stage when Kansas City played the Houston Texans. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes was on the field and he did a very Shaq-like flop. Okay. If y'all have ever seen Shaq do his flop on the basketball court, you understand what I'm saying. With that said, there was a penalty called. People are just in outrage, they're up in arms and everything. So finally, a matter of fact, Al, your hero, Troy Aikman even said something about it.
Oh,
He
boy.
criticized him.
He did. He
He
did.
criticized him because I mean it was very obvious. We've talked about how these refs are looking right at something, and what we see is for some reason it's not what they see. They'll either call something or don't call something. So we don't know what's going on with that. But he finally just came out and admitted that he shouldn't have done that. I don't know if you guys know. Patrick Mahomes literally came out and said he shouldn't have done that. He was trying to get the call. So
You got to try to get the call.
What's wrong with that, though?
He's admitting that, his part. He's not saying he was trying to deny that there's no favoritism, blah blah blah, but he finally admitted his part in the situation. So now all eyes are on him. He also stated that he's going to stop trying to take those hits just so he can flop. Apparently, that's what he was doing. Mm-hmm. Because now he's saying that's a good way to stay in the game is not take those hits.
Make the
So
ref-
I don't know if he's just talking just to be talking, or if we'll actually see a change in some of the things that he does this upcoming game. We'll see. But all eyes are on him as a result of that particular game, these outrageous flops that he has, getting the call, and then people calling him out for it. So keep an eye on that on Patrick Mahomes this upcoming game. Next, everybody's all this hype around Jaden Daniels, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a rookie. He's playing extraordinary. There is a secret to what Jaden Daniels is doing.
What's the secret?
People have talked about it,
Don't
right?
expose it.
You said what?
Don't expose it.
It's not exposing. You can Google it. Years ago, first of all, Jaden Daniels was at Arizona State. He lost both his grandparents to COVID. He went ahead and entered the transfer portal. He just wasn't feeling it there. His teammates, and they are on record, if you Google it, you'll probably find it, some clips, footage. His teammates called him trash and everything else because he entered the portal.
Ripped up
He entered the portal, goes over to LSU.
Yeah, they dogged him out.
While at LSU, this German brand had a VR platform for training for soccer.
Yeah.
Okay. They wanted to expand. They weren't really doing all that great. Not like, they wanted to. So they just decided to expand and move this over to football. So they said, hey, you want to try it? LSU was like, sure, they don't think it could hurt. Jaden wanted to make some changes, wanted to be better. So he started, using this VR training module. And in this training, you go through a whole bunch of simulations, but everything is at 1.75 times the normal speed. Okay. Daniels is doing it, he's liking what he sees, and it shows in the game. Since then, his stats went up. The man won the Heisman. He was drafted number 2 in the draft. He's taken a team that was complete and total failure into a team that is now playing in the NFC Championship. So number one, I'm hoping that those teammates at Arizona are acknowledging the fact that they were pretty stupid for saying that about him. But this young man when we talk about him getting up at 5 a.m. to train, that's what he's doing at 5 a.m. He's getting up and training. Keep in mind at 1.75 times the normal speed. Okay, so pretty much what happens is when Jaden is in a game, more often than not, the scenario he's already seen because there are a lot of different simulations and they try to make every scenario possible in their training, but also the real world seems slowed down to him.
Mhm.
That explains his calm demeanor. That explains why it seems like he's just like, he's superhuman because it's training. So with that said, when he goes and plays the Eagles coming up, you have I want to say our last game against him, Blankenship, got a interception on him. He's seen it in real life, real time, but he's also seen it at 1.75 times. You have Zach, N'Kobe Dean,
Dean
Darius.
won't be
They're
playing.
coming at him. They're coming at him slower than his normal training.
Got
So keep an eye out for that. Jaden's play, because he's played these people. Now this will be the third time, but all these scenarios at a faster pace because he's trying for that as far as the VR. But past this particular season, expect for people to try to do the same thing. You may see this company now that because I'm not exposing anything because it's many articles written about it. This company is about to get an uptick because of Jaden's success. Everyone is not going to have the same type of success that Jaden will have because they're not him, but you should see some people improving. They could, they can definitely, reach really high, statuses, but this young man's drive, you can't just necessarily duplicate him.
Right.
But because of his success, because of what he's done in his own personal career and for his team as a rookie, you're going to see that coming up. So just a little tea, look into it. I didn't drop all the information because that is my team and I want to, hold things close
Keep a
to
little
me.
something to yourself. Hold a little
That's
I
something.
got a
great.
question. I got a question for you, lady.
Uh-huh.
Is the simulation that he's using on the VR? Is it like pass rushing, or is I'm sure it's receiving in different route combinations?
It's
Is he actually
everything from
throwing a ball, or
Yep.
is he just seeing? He's actually throwing a ball with it.
He's
it's
throwing.
everything from the play call
he's
coming from the
reading.
sideline.
He's reading
Play
the
calls,
defense. They got the noise, like everything you can think of. It is a real simulation, and it's going fast. And then they've tried to come up. It's AI. Like the computer is creating these scenarios, huh?
I can send it to that.
You saw what?
Yeah, Dak probably already got it. Also, one of the things that Jaden said was whichever team drafted him, he wanted them to invest in VR as well.
Right, correct.
He wanted
and
them
so
to do
and that was his
invest in it.
stipulation. And obviously the Commanders went along with it. They were like, cool, we like it, and then there were some things, in the past that people would say, and some people didn't really know what they meant, like give Jaden his little headset, when it came to him being drafted. That's what they're referring to. And not so it's very clear that Jaden truly believed in this this platform because he wanted to make sure that wherever he went, he was going to be able to continue to use it.
There we go. That is tea with a lady A.
Sweet tea. That's a little
Like
sweet
we said,
tea.
she's sponsored by Hot Water Cornbread. Now, let's see what Al has gotten into. Y'all know what time it is. Al brings you the top 4 performers for the week. Takes them on a little trip to Cancun. All expenses paid.
No Cancun, man. These guys still playing.
Oh, they're not going to Cancun to play golf.
No, man. We give you.
Got you.
It's the golf course is too full in Cancun. Too many
Golf course
Cowboys.
too full in Cancun.
Too many Cowboys. Ravens. Detroit. Giants. There's too many teams already there, man. Cancun beaches and golf courses are already full.
All right, the foursome is brought to you by Stolen Credit Card. If your credit card has been stolen, please call 1-800 lock
That
up
is terrible.
Al.
William Groom is on this card. This is sponsored by my man Toothpick on here. This session. But yeah, man, this, like I said, you come into the nitty gritty, man. This is a special foursome, man. Very special, man. Ain't before teams playing.
Let's go.
So it can't be before players. We ain't got before teams to pick from. So the first guy, man, maybe the MVP. Not mine. He's my number 2, but could be the MVP. Josh Allen, man. He does what he needs to win the game. He goes against the instinct of making the big play and to make the right play. So Josh Allen, you didn't have but 127 yards, 125 yards passing, number 27 yards rushing, but you had 2 important rushing TDs.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the leading quarterback in rushing TDs in the league this year. Josh Allen, welcome to the force. The next guy, man, I don't know what to call him other than just Mr. Consistency. When you number one, when you the number one on all the playoff records, and you playing with the GOAT, Travis Kelce, man. Just call him playoff Travis. 100-yard game, touchdown. The most 100-yard games of any player in the playoffs. And like I said, anytime you can beat Jerry Rice records, you deserve to be on my force. That's all I'm gonna tell you. The next guy, like I said, just the best running back in the league. And every time, if he can play the Rams, 16 times, he'll probably have like 32,000 yards. So I mean, Saquon, man, number 200 yards rushing game, 2 touchdowns over 60 yards. First player to ever have 4 touchdown runs of 60 yards against one team in the season. Closing in on the all-time record of most rushing yards in the season. Only faced right behind Terrell Davis. And just passed Eric Dickerson. Welcome to my foursome, man. And the last, they call him Jesus where I've come from, but some people know him as Jaden Daniels. They believe in him. They believe in him more than they believe he can walk on water.
Now he being messy.
I call him Jesus Daniels because these boys up here believing anything he say, man.
See it to the left.
They bringing their kids to Northwest Stadium, hoping that he'll touch them and heal them. They just can't think the boy can do no wrong. So if you that good, you need to play. I want to get close to you too. Come on down to my
messy.
299 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 340 yards, man. Jesus, aka Jaden Daniels, man. Welcome to my foursome. You've been here before, but this is the playoff edition. So I welcome you to the foursome, man. They didn't want to touch the hem of his jersey, from what I understand, man.
The hem of his jersey, Deacon, you heard that?
He got these boys. They got these boys, but they believe in anything said. They name the most named child next year gonna be Jaden. I promise you.
It's already one of the top names.
That's gonna be the top name in the DMV for all boys born in the next 2 years.
You know how many little kids named Jaden now?
And it's gonna be Jaden and Jada. Watch how many.
You're hating on the player.
A whole bunch of everywhere through the DMV. They gonna have some of them gonna have the same father. So they really gonna be in trouble. So especially if Tyreek Hill come here. You never know what.
You know what? Fine, double fine.
So that's my foursome for this week, man.
He ain't lying.
Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, Saquon Barkley, and my man Jesus Daniels, aka Jay.
Hey, that's Al's foursome, man. Listen, again, Al's foursome sponsored by Stolen
Credit Card.
Stolen Credit Card. I don't know where they playing, but as soon as I see the charges, I'm pressing charges myself. Al, thank you for another wonderful, wonderful foursome.
You know, Al ain't slick. Al, you not slick. He said Kelsey because he trying to get Tay-Tay's money to pay for that.
I am. We getting that Taylor Swift money, y'all. We man, you know. First, I was working on the fries, but you know,
I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to
You're trying to get Tay-Tay money to pay for everything.
Now I'm on the register.
Deacon,
you know,
thank you.
Bucks start rolling in, you know.
Thank you for joining us, Deacon. Let's get your predictions. Let's start off in the AFC. You got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Buffalo Bills. Who you got going to the Super Bowl?
If I had to put money on it, I'd put it on KC. But sometimes something tells me, man, that it's just the Bills' year. Sometimes they got your number, sometimes they don't. I think the Bills are going to take it as their due. You know, if they don't win this year, then they may not win the next 4-5 years. You know, this is their one shot because the Kansas City ain't gonna be. They're gonna be better next year. You know, this is their year that you want to take them. So I think I'm going with Kansas City, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills win.
I got you.
Playing both
All right,
sides.
let's get over to the NFC Championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles will be hosting the Washington Commanders. Who you got?
You know,
Taking Jesus Shuttleworth, baby.
Jesus.
I'm gonna take. See, tell me Jesus, baby.
That's what I'm telling you, Commanders, homie. Hey, listen, look. I predicted. Listen, this true story. Tennessee game. The OGs went to the game.
Yep.
Blew them out. We haven't lost since. I don't expect them to start losing now.
There we
I
go.
told you they was going to win out. They did.
Everything.
This fella, hey, we don't need nothing from the chicken got now my dog's barking. He about to take a dump in the house. I gotta go.
You heard that prediction you
All
did.
right.
That's the problem.
Hey, he always got something to say. I just don't understand what he's saying. You know, he's talking different language.
He's saying, "Daddy, wrong team." Go ahead.
KC,
Hey,
Washington. That's what I got.
KC Washington going to the Super
KC
Bowl.
and
Thank you, Deacon. Thank you for joining us, man. Make sure y'all check out.
Invited on to this super podcast y'all got, man, and you know, I'm glad I didn't get fined because I didn't want that thing to pop up.
Well,
Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta watch out. She quick on the trigger too. She quick on the trigger. Listen, y'all check out the OGs of the DMV. We got Deacon, Big Al, and Trey. Man, they are good. They real good.
And
You gotta
Mighty
check their
Mouse here.
podcast out.
You know, Mighty Mutt here. He all over the place.
Look. There you go. He's like, I gotta get in here. Gotta get
Come
my
on in
lap
the
time. There we go.
Look at you stepping on stuff.
All right,
hey,
Deacon.
appreciate you,
I
gentlemen.
appreciate you. Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank y'all.
That was Deacon from the OGs of the DMV. Listen, man, we had a great show. We'll be back to see you guys again on Saturday, where we will make our picks. We'll make our official picks for what the way we see both of these games going down on Saturday. The graphics department has been on some things. They've been putting together some new things for y'all. And Sayed promised that he's going to have a championship weekend edition of Leaking Oil.
Uh-oh.
And don't forget, when you say championship, that does include college.
Oh
So-
man, can we say something real quick about that?
About the game?
About the fact
the
that
Buckeyes?
the Big Ten runs college football. From what I understand, I keep hearing that that the word on the street, the Big Ten runs college football. Is that
Well,
true?
let me say this. Let's give you a real true statement real quick, okay? Who won the initial BCS?
The Big Ten.
Ohio State.
The first year. That's what
Who won the initial college football playoffs?
Big Ten.
Again,
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Who did not see this coming?
State.
It's the initial football playoffs. Who did not see this coming? But they win the initial. Where's the follow-up?
They got back to back in the Big Ten right now. Sid. I mean, pick. I mean, that's something to be said. Now, granted, the SEC done that several times.
That's
over.
the back.
I'm just saying, you see what I said, Sid? I came to your defense. This SEC has done that several times over.
Back to
Between
back, and you won
Alabama,
both years in a
Georgia,
row. Don't
they
give me no
should've-
back to back two different teams. Because if that's the case, the
Need some of the conference.
The SEC won like 6 or 7 in a row. Somebody else won.
I get it, Sid. I'm just saying.
Hold on now.
They saying word on the street. I'm asking, is there any validity to the fact?
Well, I mean, you know, if you got to go out and buy players, of course you're gonna win at some point.
Talking about saying you know
Everybody
Georgia
buying
being
players,
transfer portal.
And they are too.
Okay.
Yes, they are, Pat. I hate to be the one to tell you, but yes, they are. Matter of fact, you bought one from Georgia last week.
Oh my
Whoa,
goodness.
whoa.
Am I wrong?
Oh Lord.
Name is Damon Wilson.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cuzzo.
Where does he live at?
Ohio.
Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He must don't like OH.
He is from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah.
So you gotta hear that.
It's not a big college football area right here. So you can,
It's okay. I mean, it happens. It comes back around. It was a great season. We all agreed and disagreed about the way they did the playoffs, the initial playoffs. Will there be some tweaks to it?
Yeah.
But hey, 12 teams. Word on the street is it may go from 12 to 14.
Really?
It may or may not. Yeah. They're
So
talking about
get
getting another
14. You'll get 14.
giving somebody else one more
But
chance
they
to
got
play.
how many more
play their
buys
way
they gonna
in.
get? They got 4 buys.
No, they're trying to get one more team a chance to play their way in.
Man, come on, man.
I'm just.
Do we need another?
I'm
I'm
making
just me. You said. Do we need another SMU? It really need to play or Clemson.
I think we've seen enough.
What is going on over there? He is.
I hope he got
The
it right.
game ain't on right now.
Yeah, he all in that sour cream and onions. Yeah, yeah. I think that bad messed them up. But we'll talk about this another time. We ain't got time to talk about it tonight. But I think they definitely got to make some tweaks, and I think they need to figure out the way to get rid of them buys. Said go to 16 if you're gonna do that, and let everybody play.
Well, there you go. And having a bye, you actually did lose the home field advantage that you supposedly worked so hard for anyway.
You play a bowl game.
Yeah, well, so catch us on Saturday. But before Saturday, we have a Level Up Edition playoff divisional round. That'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern on Thursday. So Level Up will be coming back. I don't know if y'all saw the last edition of Level Up, but if you didn't, go back and watch it on YouTube and make sure that you are around to catch these fellas coming back through.
That's Thursday?
This Thursday, we got the Professor Lou Holder, Lake Lewis Jr., and David Harrison joining us for NFC
I got to talk to
East
Lake.
battle between the Washington Commanders and Philadelphia Eagles for the right to go to their Super Bowl.
I talked to Lake. My daughter just got accepted to Penn State. I got to talk to Shane. I don't know if she's going there now, but I know that. I got to let him know that, man. You know.
Mm-hmm. Gotta go. All right, Ted, did we cover everything, man?
Yeah, we hit it all.
We got it all. Sour cream onion potato chips, 8 on stream.
Right here, every corner.
Yeah. Well, shouts out to my son, United States Air Force. First String Podcast, second to none. Come get some. Tell them, say it.
Go Dogs.
Raise hell.
It's wartime, baby. This what you signed up for. This what we worked hard for. You for. Y'all the first string. Y'all gotta go set the tone now. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Hey, let's go. 'Cause it's time for the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast show. Imagine talking sports, having fun with the fam. At a starting line, the first string is what you have. An entertaining stream with the Pro Bowl cash. When the viewers chime in, they gon' answer what you ask. Representing for the Queens, yeah, we got Lady A. A super knowledgeable woman who can break down any play. Said from the South, so he read GA. The Falcons, the Bulldogs, the whole Peach State. Drunk Uncle Al, only way you can describe him. Every time he crack the mic, you know he gon' be wildin'. Last but not least, it's my man Toothpick. Commanders is a squad and he the captain of the ship. So if you feel the vibe, go ahead and tune in. Like, subscribe, recommend to a friend. Nah, for real, like, subscribe, and recommend this to a